Hello, I'm Kathy Chester, and this is Move It or Lose It, a podcast about all things that move the mind, body, spirit, and soul. Hello, happy Wednesday. So another addition to our Move It or Lose It podcast. And today I'm very much looking forward to this interview with the twins coast to coast. So twins having multiple sclerosis, not just siblings, not mother and son, mother and daughter, but twins. So just very, very interested from the beginning when I read stories about the two of you. And not to mention, you guys are both beautiful and have such a kind, just loving way of expressing when you advocate just your tenderness and just exactly who the two of you are when you do your Instagram lives. So really, really am excited to have the listeners hear your stories. And so welcome Tamara and Terry.
Thank you so much for inviting us.
And just so you guys know, moving on, Terry's having trouble because she's in Georgia. So they've got some big storms. So if we see her go out and in, just be understanding, knowing that we've got some bad storms there in Georgia. So we're going to go. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ask Terry some questions first. And then hopefully, Terry, you don't go out on me because I'll go to Tamara. So Terry, you guys are from, you were diagnosed. Let's go from there. You were diagnosed in 1983. Okay.
No, we were actually diagnosed. Well, we were young girls when we started having symptoms.
Okay.
So I was officially diagnosed in 1996.
Okay.
And I was 27 years old at diagnosis. But Tamara and I had terrible pain and neuropathic pain when we were young girls.
Yes.
Like as far back as the age of 10.
Right.
So I believe truly we would have been diagnosed as young girls and now, right? Because they know so much more.
For sure.
Officially diagnosed in 1996.
Okay.
I started to have our mom passed away in 1992.
Yeah.
And I had a severe episode of optic neuritis. And that was scary because nobody knew, even the neuro-ophthalmologist was like, I see a spot, but we're not sure what that is. So it took my dad's neighbor, who was an ophthalmologist, and he said, I think Terry has MS. So then we researched it, went to a neurologist, and finally, through a spinal tap, I was diagnosed with MS.
Okay.
So,
so we're still in the 90s. So we're still back when there were not a lot of options then.
I was so lucky because in 1995, Avonex was released. So there were, you think about today, we're here now in 2022. Can't believe how quickly life goes.
Yes.
Back in 1996, there were 2 DMTs that were approved, and it was Betaseron and Avonex. And of course, they used IV Sodromedrol for breakthrough. But I felt lucky back then to go on that.
Oh, yeah. Now, back then was Copaxone came out in what year? That was 1997. Yeah, I was going to say, because when I was diagnosed then, my options were Avonex, Copaxone. They leaned more towards those two. So, remember the glossy pamphlets.
Yeah. Right.
And then, and then someone on a bike, and then someone strolling, and it was like, rest, and just rest. And there's just like, hopefully you'll be able to go on a brisk walk and look forward to maybe slow on the bicycle. And other than that, your life is pretty much over, but good luck. It was
I know, they just kind of set you off and you're like, that's it, go live your life. And that's what I did.
Yes.
I just went out and I lived my life. I gave my shot on a weekly basis. And then I went in year 1999 and I see Dr. William Stewart, who is like my second dad. And he said, would you be interested in a trial with
Yes.
Tisagri? We are
So
getting
that's what I
ready
want to
for
get
one.
into. So you got into the first trial, correct?
I was in the first trial.
Nice.
So I had my first infusion in January of 2001.
Wow.
So I was
Okay.
really thrilled. And I
Yeah.
was on it until November of 2013. So
Okay.
that was my magic drug. I stayed healthy,
Yeah.
working, walking. Of course, I had some walking deficits by 2013, but
Right.
it wasn't anything to where I'm at now.
Okay.
So, and I'm back on Sabri now.
You
So
are. Very
I
good.
am. I have the JC virus.
Yes.
And so, that's why I went off of it at the beginning.
Right.
But the great thing is I'm on it. I'm stable.
Good.
So hooray for me.
Yes. Hooray. And
Yeah.
from my understanding, when I was going back and forth, is that I've got the 3 markers, so I can't go back on it. I was on chemotherapy. Because of the markers, I can't go back to Tisabri. I would love to. I miss it desperately. My
Yes.
numbers did the same as yours. They kind of went up, down, and then they stayed low. So I probably could have stayed on it, and they would have just checked. So I went, which probably is what you're doing, Terry. So correct me if I'm wrong. I went from every 4 weeks to every 6 weeks.
Correct.
And so, okay. So then they would just monitor me more if I had stayed on it, monitor me more, do my blood work more often, and just see where my numbers are each time.
I wish I had that option. My titers were way like scary high. So that's why I came off of it. And then I tried literally, you name what's out there, I was on it.
Yeah.
So yes, but I'm taking the risk and I'm stable, if you want to call secondary progressive MS stable, because ours is a little aggressive.
Right.
But with that said, I'm just thrilled to be on it. And now looking forward to the future with all the wonderful treatments that they are trying.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Yes. Rebuild myelin. That's next all.
Okay. So that's where you're at now, is you're looking forward to. Okay. So now I want to go into, so Terry, you're on the MS Board of Trustees for the state of Georgia. So tell me, advocating, which I really love this, advocating this year for a lot of mental health issues. So tell me about that and what got you started to even want to go into that. How did you decide I'm going to look at the MS Society? Now that there were many other choices then,
right?
But now we had all the things we have now to be able to do and to be able to advocate. So back then you did the smartest thing. You went to the MS Society and said, how can I help? What can I do?
Exactly. So a little background is that I'm a go-getter and I never take no for an answer. So my motto is you just ask. And if somebody says no, that's okay. But if you don't ask to do something and advocate for yourself, you're not going to know the answer. So throughout my girls growing up years, I was very present and volunteering at their schools and their organizations and what have you. And when they graduated high school and went off to college, I was bored. I'm an intellect. I'm thinking, now what do I need to do? So I reached out to the National MS Society Georgia chapter. And I said, I want to get involved. How may I become involved in their program? So in year 2000, I participated in a leadership class and I did very well, raising money and enjoyed meeting people until the pandemic hit and we shut down everything. And we finished off our leadership program with Zoom. But that year I was the leadership program here in the state of Georgia. There are only about maybe 5 leadership classes out of the entire states. So I feel very honored that I was asked in year 2021 to be one of the co-chairs, and I'm also a co-chair for 2022 leadership program. And we have these amazing executives come in and talk to our class. There are a lot of business leaders here in Atlanta and around Georgia. And now we'll be in person this year, which will
Good.
change the dynamics.
Oh,
It'll be
yes.
awesome. And fundraising will be key because, as you
Mhm.
know, when you do things on Zoom and you're not face to face, it's hard to raise money.
Right,
But the
right.
National MS Society, the reason why I chose it is because I love Sylvia Lowry's story, who
Yes.
started the MS Society. We're now on our 76th year of the society. To watch it grow and to have her vision,
Yeah.
to be there for research and
Yes.
to find a goal to one
Yeah.
day be free of MS.
Agree.
Just
Amen.
to hear that,
Amen.
right?
Yes.
To
And
hear
just
those words.
definitely I've seen it change over the last few years from what it used to be to where they're very much up to date with like exercise and movement, healthy eating. I love that I can look into that and find it a spot where I can know that I'm going to get really good information and solid information by people that I know I can trust. So I think
It's
that's
amazing.
awesome.
You know, when you're so involved in a society like me, I participate in the leadership class. I'm a part of the advocacy board here in the state of Georgia. I love it. And you can totally be a voice for MS. You go to
Right.
the senators, the House of Representatives. They're just like us. They want to hear your story.
Right.
They
Right.
do want to make a difference if they're able to make that difference.
I love that, Terry, because I think oftentimes we're afraid to give feedback, but not understanding that our feedback allows them to change, to grow, to meet our needs. And oftentimes we hold our feedback back and we don't
Right.
allow it to be given. And that's a shame because it really is important. And I think,
Oh, it
you know,
is.
Terry, I think it's obvious why your feedback is accepted because your kindness
Oh,
and the way you share it, I'm sure is not in a negative way, or it just comes across very positive, and that's your message that you want to give. And so that very much comes across along with educating.
well, that's
So
very kind, but that's why we do this. It's from our heart. This
yes,
is not made up. We're not pretending. We're living with a chronic illness that's pretty progressed, and we
right.
just want to make a difference for our generation, our children's
Yes.
generation, and the generations to come.
Yeah.
Because we have a voice to tell, and I
Right.
always tell our children, my children, what's your story? Tell me your story, and what are you going to tell your children one day?
Right.
So I'm very happy and honored that I am a part of the National MS Society, and they selected me as one of their trustee
Right.
members, and it's just wonderful. It's a lot of work. It's like a full-time job sometimes,
Sure.
but it's a pleasure, and very
Yes.
happy with the people I've met. And going back to the National MS Society, there's so many things you don't see. You may
Right.
Google it and look on the website, but in order for those pages to look like they do, there are
Right.
hundreds of people that work in the society that make that happen. And what
Yeah.
I'm so proud of is the navigator. And
Yes.
anybody that's newly diagnosed to
Right.
people who have been diagnosed for 30 years, there will be something for you. And the education part of it is tremendous. When you
Yes.
call in or text or type what you need,
Mhm.
we have the answers.
I
It's
love that
fantastic.
program. Love it. So anybody who's not taken a part of it or not learned about the navigators, I would
Mhm.
encourage you to go onto the National MS Society and look up what it is, where the navigators are. And really it's just such a great program. I love that. So Terry, I want to ask you now. So obviously you're the Harbor twins. Now, obviously you go by your married name. So Terry, you are married. For how long have you been married?
Well, I've been married 28 years. So
Very good.
I'm right behind Tamara. Tamara's been married 29 years in another
Okay.
week. So
Okay.
we got married, a year apart. My husband is an anesthesiologist who practices and specializes in interventional spine and pain management.
Okay.
And I've been very lucky to be
Yes,
married to somebody so knowledgeable. It's been great.
very much so. And you have two daughters, is that
I
right?
do. I
Okay.
have a 26-year-old daughter who's a nurse practitioner, And I have a 22-year-old daughter who lives in LA. So
Oh, nice. Okay.
yes,
So I bet you miss her.
I do tremendously.
So now looking back, some of the things that I read about both of you that I love, not just the work that you guys are doing, but I asked you, Terry, in one of the questions, when you were diagnosed, did you ever think that your sister was going to, did it ever even occur to you that to look for signs in your sister, did it ever occur to you that that was going to happen?
No. When I was diagnosed with MS, I really didn't know what MS was. When I researched it, it didn't look so great.
Now, did you go on the
So
Google back then? Did you
right.
Google?
Well, Google really
No, it
wasn't.
wasn't there, right?
It really wasn't like out there like it is today.
No,
But reading books and like I said, my MS center is wonderful with pamphlets, and they were a wealth of knowledge, educating me right from the start.
very
So I was
good.
fortunate that way. But no, I never really shared my symptoms with
Right.
Tamara, because a lot of times, being twins, for us, we never really shared our physical ailments
Okay.
until we were both diagnosed with multiple sclerosis.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes.
So
But it was scary. It was, when I found out Tamara was diagnosed, I was like, ugh, I wish
yeah,
it could
right,
just be me,
right.
right?
But at
Yeah.
least you were able to be there for her and a little bit ahead and understand and give that support that that wasn't, they wouldn't have been there. I mean, I can't imagine what a huge support that would be, being able to go through this together. So Terry,
Exactly.
I'm sure that was just a huge huge part for you, to the sadness of how could this happen to both of us? How could my sister not have this? But the ability to say, you know what, we're together. We're now stuck like glue, and we're going to
That's right.
support each other.
That's
So
right.
I love that.
We have this. We've
Yes,
got this. We're going to go through life together, support one another, and be the best cheerleaders we can for
yes.
one another.
I love that, Tara. I really do. And I'll have more questions for you for sure. So
Yes.
Tamara, you've been waiting so patiently, and I'm sure you've never really heard Terry's story, right? These are the first times you, right?
We've lived it together. No,
Yes.
no, yes. Yes.
So Tamara, tell me about your story when you were diagnosed. So you were diagnosed, you are 8 minutes
I am
younger,
8 minutes older.
older than Terry. Okay.
Right.
I love that, because it's very important that you guys distinguish who's younger by that 8 minutes. I always find that in twins to be funny. Even if it was 2 minutes, it's, I'm younger.
I'm the older, I'm the younger. So anyway, tell me your question one more time.
Your diagnosis. When were you diagnosed?
So I was diagnosed 3 years after Terry was diagnosed. I was 30 years old.
Okay.
It was in 1998, after I had my second baby.
Okay.
And so my diagnosis, sorry, Jen, Kathy, hang on one second. I was, why am I going blank here?
Well, it's our cog fog. It's all the things, right?
I
So
know.
take a breath and you're fine.
Exactly. So I was diagnosed at 30 in 1998. And one day I was walking down the stairs with my two babies. I had a newborn that was born in June of 1998 and a 16-month-old. And I had them both in my hands, and I was walking down the stairs, and all of a sudden my left arm was very weak. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm carrying these two babies. I feel like I'm going to drop one, but
Right.
a mama's not going to drop a baby. So I got them downstairs, safely put in their playpens, and I called my husband, who's a radiologist, and said, I'm having weakness. Something must be wrong. And maybe it's a mess like Terry. He said, oh, it's all in your mind.
Now, I thought this was funny, Tamara, because your husband really kind of harassed you that you should lose some weight and that you're just having sympathy pains, right? For your sister.
Yeah, I was just having sympathy pains. and I was having, it was all in my mind. So
Right.
Tamara, come to my office. We'll do an MRI. We'll rule this out. We'll go forward in life. We'll support Terry in every way we can.
Right.
I went for an MRI. I came out of the MRI, walked into his office, and I looked at him, and he looked at me, and I could tell our trajectory
Yes.
was going to be changed
Forever changed.
forever.
Yes.
He said, Tamara, it looks as though there are some signs on your MRI that look like MS. We were fortunate we lived by Stanford University.
Mhm.
I made an appointment with a neurologist there. And back in the 90s, they did the full workup.
Right.
And had that done, had the spinal tap, which confirmed I had multiple sclerosis. We were devastated because,
Right.
most of the doctors, and when Terry was diagnosed, Terry said, how likely would my twin sister have MS? And they said,
Okay.
even though you're identical twins, we don't have much research out there that shows that
Right.
the other twin will have it. It's very unusual for other family members to have it, although
For
it
sure.
does happen. You do see familiar,
Yes.
if a son may have it, when
Sure.
the father has it. So I was diagnosed, and like Terry said, we were both sad, and we
Mhm.
knew our life was going to be different. But at the time we were diagnosed, we felt good, we looked good,
Right.
we were doing all the activities.
Right.
We didn't have many symptoms other than some weakness. You could
Right.
tell we were sick.
So Tamara, what did you start on? What DMT did you start
I
on?
started on the disease modifying tip therapy. I started on was Avonex.
Okay.
Like you said, at the time,
That
for
was
me
it.
also, that was it. It was either beta seron that's a treatment or Avonex.
Right. Right.
Doctors really liked Avonex.
Uh-huh.
Back then, 25 years ago, they didn't have auto injectors.
Right.
You had to literally mix your medicine. And
Yeah.
having a newborn baby, there were nights that I did not stay consistent and take my medicine every night.
Okay.
As we know, with any DMT.
Well, Tamara, you were actually, I thought, on Copaxone.
Yeah, Copaxone's.
After.
Okay. So Copaxone's the everyday, just so our listeners know. And then Avonex is a once a week injection.
Right.
Once a week injection at the time.
Mhm.
And when that once a week time came, sometimes I was so tired, I would not take the medication. And at that time, Google wasn't out there. There were only the MS pamphlets that came out. And I didn't realize how important it is to stay on your medication.
Right.
Don't stop. MS is very silent, and the inflammation still goes on.
Right.
You feel very good. So
Right.
that's something I wish I knew 25 years ago.
Exactly. I think many of us think that, look back and say, oh, I wish I would have known this. I wish I would have known, but there was so much unknown back then. And, I often say to my husband when he goes to see the cardiologist, can you imagine the cardiologist handing you 2 pamphlets and saying, what do you think? Which one would you like to be on? And that would never happen. The cardiologist tells you, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're moving forward. So it's just such a different path for us in the MS world, where it's like, they kind of put it on you to choose. And so you really do have to advocate. You really do have to have a knowledge about, and a very good relationship with your neurologist.
Absolutely. And I have heard stories from people where they're not getting enough information from their neurologist. And, advocate for yourself. If you don't like your doctor, get a second opinion. Third opinion. There are neurologists that are helpful, that will fit your personality, explain things.
100%.
Be your advocate. If your doctor is not working for you.
Right. It's kind of, this is Terry, it's kind of like a marriage.
Yes.
Everybody listening out there, it's like, if it's a good marriage, you're going to stay with your doctor.
Yes.
You're going to be compatible. If it's a bad marriage and you don't like your doctor,
Right.
then find that correct
Yeah.
doctor that you enjoy and trust.
Yeah. And that is so important. Both of you, thank you for sharing that, because of all of the things, right? There's so many things that we have to share privately with our neurologist as our symptoms change, as we grow older, as we need to share, and some of them very private. So if you don't have that relationship that you can talk to your neurologist about and say, these are my issues with urology things. I went on a walk and didn't have to go to the bathroom and stopped to talk to a friend. I just peed. So if you don't have that closeness with your neurologist, that's going to feel very, very awkward to have to share. And so I think what ends up happening is what I see a lot with my clients, is I'll see them just say, I just didn't mention it. And then I think you got to mention it, but that's a red flag. If you're not feeling that comfortable with your neurologist, that you can't talk to them. So
No, because
I agree.
It's up hurting you in the long run, because you're not
For sure.
information. You may need physical therapy, occupational therapy that
Right.
you're not getting, exercise.
Yes.
I really believe, and that's why your platform is so wonderful.
Well, thank you.
Because you give people information and
Yes.
knowledge, and that's what we need to share with people.
For sure.
Diseases.
For sure. Because there has been, and my heart has always been for the newly diagnosed, and really trying to get to, all of us, but the newly diagnosed, that because there is so much great information right out on the internet now, but there's also so much false information. And so I think, like what you guys do and what a lot of our advocates try to do now, I think it is so important as well to tie into this, is that you're at different ages. You guys are coming twins. You're not in your 20s. You're saying, look what we can do. Yes, we've got the secondary MS, but look what we're able to do. We're still advocating. We're still doing Instagram Live. We're still giving knowledge. We're still encouraging. And I think that's so important, because as you know, with having a lot of the autoimmune diseases, but with MS, if we feel like we're not contributing, it just really adds into that depression and the stuff that we will struggle with.
Absolutely. And that's indeed, we're doing this for the next generation of people diagnosed with MS, and to get the information out, and really hopeful that the researchers, keep researching and good things will come.
Absolutely.
That's right. And we're also doing it for people who don't have the family support or a friend system, because everybody needs to talk to somebody. And we are here for all the listeners out there today. Tamara and Terry, DM us anytime, because we're good listeners.
Yeah. And that is so true. And I think that too comes with, with age, and it comes with, as I'm growing older, it's, you really want to be able to sit down and listen, and you're not so hyper to interject something in. You really want to listen to the stories. And I think in doing that, we learn so much about what our younger people that are diagnosed, what their concern is. And they're not looking for someone their age to tell them. They're looking for authenticity. And you guys most certainly deliver that in the way that you share. And I think when we think about our next generation, and I love your heart about that, is that it's not something that we have to be afraid of. There's so many things that are out for us now. And if we were to be diagnosed, there isn't a better time than right now.
Right.
Right. We don't want people to look where Terry and I are. We do have secondary progressive. We are using, wheelchairs at times. Terry most of the time. I don't want to scare people.
Right.
It doesn't have to be that way. Progression is different with all the new treatments out there.
Right.
I really believe they are slowing disease progression. And it's very different now than it was when we were diagnosed.
Oh my
it's
goodness, yes.
exciting. Really, really exciting.
Very much so. And so the next question I wanted to ask you guys, so I really want to go into more of your stories now. So I'm going to take you, we're going to go back a little bit. So tell me about, you were born in St. Petersburg, Florida. And then, so with it, and I'm sorry, Tamara, I didn't mean to cut you off. You also have two children as well.
I do.
You do.
Terry and I have they're all daughters, and they're all very.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I have a 25-year-old daughter who's also a nurse practitioner that lives in Atlanta for her training, but moving back to California. Very excited about that. And I have a 23-year-old daughter who works with autistic kids.
Oh,
Very
beautiful.
proud of both.
Yes. Love that. Love that. So they really obviously have your heart when it comes to what they want to do.
Yes.
So with you guys, talk to me about how it affected you losing your mother and how you think that came into play with the MS and the stress of that. What was that like for both of you?
Our mother was diagnosed when we were 16 years old, and she was only 36. That was a very difficult time, very stressful, because she was diagnosed with a cancer, a type of sarcoma that was pretty aggressive. Very, very stressful. And our dad didn't know how to handle it. He
Right.
was taken by surprise, and it was very difficult, very stressful.
Right. So, our mother had alveolar soft part sarcoma, and she got sick when we were 13 years old, going over to England, developed a blood clot. So really our journey with her illness started then. And the stress of having a mother who was sick began then because she didn't know what was going on. She had a blood clot, came back home, and really did not feel good from that point forward. So when she was diagnosed with cancer, it was very sad, but at least she had a diagnosis. And again, going back to 1983 at her time of diagnosis, there wasn't a lot known about it. At the time, only 177 reported cases.
I was going to say there weren't that many. That was
many, even today. So the good news is she lived 10 years after diagnosis. It was a slow growing cancer, but a devastating disease. And it happened when she was so young. We were so lucky. Our mom had us when she just turned 20. We're 2 days apart. And our birthdays, July 18th and July 20th. And it was hard because we were so close. And she was so brave. She never complained. So when we were diagnosed with MS, we're like, we've got this. We can live a full, happy life, and we're not going to die from this. We may have issues, but we're not going to die. It's not a death sentence. So
I would say, Terry, really your mom was very inspirational in that she was so strong that you guys were able to see that modeled growing up. Even though she had this horrific thing, she kept up this just this joy and this I'm going to continue.
We are who we are today because of our mother. And I think our children, all four of them, have picked up that same legacy of our mother because they see it through us. So we are so privileged to have had our mom.
And really then continue the legacy of now being able to advocate for multiple sclerosis.
Absolutely.
I think how proud your mother would be.
Oh, yes. And Terry, in honor of her mother, named her first daughter, Cheryl Ann.
I love that. I love that. That's beautiful. Really beautiful. I love that your families are so involved. So tell me then, when you reflect back in the early times, like we talked about losing your mom and stuff like that, what were your first signs, Tamara, that you knew before you going into, so you kind of understood Terry's stuff.
So for me, when my mother died, I left for a week on an interview for my husband to California for a job.
Okay.
And we were in the beautiful wine country taking a walk. It was a beautiful day. And after about a mile of walking, I had to stop. My legs were stinging and burning. And I told my husband, I can't walk any farther.
Right.
He took a moment. The tingling was still there. He laughed and giggled and said, "You're just out of shape." But I was far from out of shape. I was always a runner or playing tennis
Right.
or walker.
He sounds like a funny guy, Tamara. Like he's quite the jokester.
He's a witty guy. And that's what's made also living with
Yes.
disease. If you have the right person to live with a little bit of humor.
So true.
That was the first, when I look back, true moment of an MS episode. My
Sure.
mother just died a week before.
So the stress was here.
And, having to keep moving forward. And that was it. That was the first symptom.
Wow.
From that point on, I was symptom free until that experience after I had my second child, walking them down the stairs.
Right. Yes. So terrifying. So then fast forward then, and you guys decide you're going to both do, so Tamara, your work in the MS Society is, tell me what you do.
Well, I am not as involved as Terry with the MS Society, but I do like to write stories and all of that. My thing is that we are focusing on our social media platform of the good, the bad, and the funny.
Yeah.
We like to get out there and support people. Like Terry said before, many people do not have people to talk to or rely on. That's why we're doing what we're doing.
Very true.
Be there for people.
So important. And to have that healthy, that glow, that joy that you guys have with you is oftentimes they've heard me say my first support group was actually in a scooter shop. So look back 20 years ago and I'm like, this is the support group. This is terrifying. Nothing like just to look at like what's to come. So it was so terrifying. I thought this cannot be, but if you can have that mindset, there's always a reason. There was a reason I went to a scooter shop. I don't understand right now, but sure enough, as I'm leaving, this younger gentleman came over to me and said, I wanted to ask you if you had heard about this doctor who came to be my amazing neurologist. And so, everything's for a reason. You think sometimes, what am I doing here? Why am I doing this? And then if we can keep that open mind that there are so many people and really using discernment. I know for me, when I look at my interview, that people that I want to interview or people, what I do with the movement, when I look at people who are doing it, but in ways that I'm like, no, that's injuring. And you really have to put yourself out there, but in a loving way, which is, I think, what I love about how you guys do your Instagram lives. So one of the ones I thought, I don't remember, Tamara or Terry, you were doing the bike. So I think that was you in California, right? Okay.
Yes.
So that was something I thought was so interesting.
So that is a Vasper. It's called a Vasper bike. And it was developed here at Moffett Field. Used for the NASA astronauts. What it is you wear cooling pads as you're exercising, and it changes the whole dynamic of your body, and it's wonderful. So I highly suggest, get out there and exercise.
Yes.
Jasper, unfortunately, has very few locations other than in Northern California.
Right. I was looking, I'm like, see those?
Very few people. I use what they call a myocycle. And myocycles, of course, are, in relative terms, thousands and thousands of dollars less. I purchased one during COVID because I did not want to stop. And a myocycle was developed for people with spinal cord injuries. And they have it at the MS Center. They have it at Shepherd Center, which is a wonderful neurological and brain injury hospital.
We'll make sure we have that at the bottom of the show notes, Terry.
Great. I will make sure we have that.
Yeah.
And I was introduced there, and it's a neurostimulator bicycle. So you put the neurostimulations over your muscles, the
Mhm.
main muscle groups of your legs, the hamstrings, the
Right.
quads, the
Quads,
calves,
exactly.
and your glutes. And it stimulates the muscles by contracting them.
Mhm.
And you can put it on the different intensities.
Yes.
And you ride for an hour. So 1 hour a day, that's all it takes to keep your body moving. So
Yeah. I'm so
not
proud of you
everybody,
too for doing,
yeah,
because there's such a drop in self-care, understanding. If I heard one more time pedicures, manicures, I'm like, yes, those are wonderful, but that is not the self-care that we need right now. We need to be
correct,
focused on health, on what we're putting in our bodies, and
right.
movement. That's going to keep us strong if this crazy virus attacks us. Those are the things that will keep us strong,
Well,
not a pedicure.
that's right. Well, the thing that Tamara and I really have made, and we've always been very much in shape. And
Mhm.
when you're in secondary progressive MS, and I'm totally paralyzed now from the waist down, my legs do
Okay.
not move. My right hand is almost paralyzed, but I managed to move. So if you don't move, you're going to lose it. People may
Yes.
say, well, my leg doesn't move. Well, there are ways to be able to move it. And
Yes.
again, there is a lot of financial sources through the MS Society for people to
Mhm.
go to these things.
Right. Right.
And they just need to, and anybody out there, we can put in the show notes, can reach out to
Right.
me, and I can show them how to do this.
Yeah.
So
And it
that's
is
kind of
so
nice.
important because even, you know, with my stuff, I try to do once a month a men's group so that they get that, and it's free to them, but it's something for them to look forward to. Then if they
Right.
want to do more with me, then that's something that, you know, I can work out with them.
Right.
And then the same thing with I'm putting on YouTube things where I do like once a month on exercises for us. And so I think
Great.
it's so important that we give to the community, even if it's like, for me, it's my business. However,
Right.
to understand that I also want to give back and give knowledge. And yes, this is my business. So of course there
Yeah.
has to be a fee for things,
Sure.
but to give back to the world too, after all of the COVID stuff, is really, you know, doing that, you know, once a month, doing those things that people that truly cannot afford to get something in their home, that can't afford to, I can give them a link for bands and things that
Right.
we're going to use. And so that's something that, you know, they can swallow. If it's, you know, $10 on Amazon, it's something that is like, okay, I can do this. And then for those who really suffer, and I'll give them, you know, a couple different options. And then when you can, I want you to pick up this. And so absolutely agree that when we do the contraction and when we really get our mind to focus on the muscle groups that
Right.
we're working, that's the important part. So love that both of you
Yes.
took that, like, absolutely, I'm not going to stop moving.
Don't stop moving. Whatever your limitations are, you can work around them, and people find somebody to help you, and you can do it.
Absolutely. 100%. We know that's definitely. So what would you say, since COVID, was the most difficult thing for you guys during COVID and right after? What would you say?
Well, this is Tamara. For me, you know, you had the outside influences, and then you have your own internal stresses. So the outside, you had all the political, all of the COVID, which was very
Right.
scary at the beginning.
Very much. Yes.
There wasn't much known. People were dying. So that stress actually, I believe, put me in an episode.
Okay.
I internally held on to the stress. What if I get, you know, this? My children were very stressed out if I
Yes.
were to contract COVID. Now that there are vaccines, we're
Right.
nervous.
Yeah.
I've received the two vaccines and the booster.
I just got my booster too. So my arm's
Yes.
still like, ow, but
Oh,
yeah,
we're proud
got
of
it
you.
done.
Congratulations! 'Cause
I was very
really-
excited to get it. So I had to move mine around with the Ocrevus, you know how that goes. So I had to have that window.
Yes.
So when I
Right.
got the okay, I was like, yes, going in. So
Good job.
yeah.
Fantastic.
But for me, this is Terry. When COVID came to the United States, Tamara's daughter was actually studying in Spain. Her youngest daughter came
Okay.
back.
Wow.
She had COVID. And it was so scary because, again, like Tamara said, we didn't know what it was going to look like.
Right.
And Hannah was really sick. And I'm thinking, oh my words, her dad and mom are in the house. Hannah did a fabulous job isolating, and Tamara and Stephen stayed safe and healthy.
Thank God.
But for me, it was unnerving. I'm thinking, oh my words,
Yeah.
what's it? And I had
Because
to
you can't
shake
do
that
anything.
really quick. Right. I had to stop that feeling and say, we are going to get through this. We're going to be positive. But I would say the isolation and all the good work I was doing, I was down at the state capitol with one of my dear friends. And we were last year, it was all about the medical marijuana bill. And it was national. This was not just a state bill. It was actually a national bill, but within the federal bill, we had a state component that would allow for medical marijuana to be legalized. And they were selecting 6 different companies to provide the growing of the marijuana. It's still going on. Continue back, guys. Follow me in another probably year, because they went back and the decision was to keep the 6, but they're going to add probably 3 to 4 more companies. Okay. So we're postponed on our medical marijuana release. We're hoping that it would be at the end of the year. It's probably going to be 2023. Okay. But the isolation, not to be with friends, not to do speaking events, to be able to be in a room to give people hugs. Right. That was the hardest thing.
And my kids were working. So my youngest was working. He's going to school and he's in college and he's also working. So even right now with the numbers going up here, and I'm sure there, his managers all had COVID. So he is now, and I'm just the anxiety of that. Now he did have COVID. So he's been, he's got his booster, he's got, all the vaccinations, but still that concern that my baby is now, the manager there and doing everything. I'm like, no, send him home. Like he doesn't need to do that. So
he has a job that he has to physically be there.
Yes. So, he'll text me every day and say, I miss you. I love you. And I'm like, well, mask up. And he's the one telling me, no, we're not, we're going to wait. I'm like, okay. But it is missing those hugs and just
missing those hugs. We're humans are social beings.
Yes.
Not a normal thing to be isolated, and created a lot of stress for many people of all ages.
Absolutely.
Well, that is why when you talk about the mental health part of it.
Right. I was going to ask you that.
Passionate about this mental health bill.
Right.
Because without this bill being approved, people are not going to have their insurances pay for any kind of psychology. Psychiatry is normally covered. But psychologists are who you really want to talk to, or some sort of therapist, family therapist, and they're all at a network, and they've been really hard to book during COVID.
Oh yeah, I mean, yes, because when I'm trying to find one through, and we'll talk about my stuff a different time, but letting go of my main business, and really needing that person to talk to through it, because there are so many scary things, and finding it like, geez, how would this how am I going to do this expense now in addition to this and this? So it is very hard. I love that we are focused on that right now, because I think that it's so difficult for so many of our young and any age, but our MS and any of the autoimmune diseases, but struggling mental illness and not being able to get the care that they need because it's not available, or oftentimes I find they'll find, a lot of MS patients that I work with will find something that they can do, like where they can talk, like there's different spaces now,
Yes.
different apps. But again, my heart's just like, because I know that these people have no clue about their multiple sclerosis.
Right.
So I remember, I have a lot of counseling in my background. And so I remember thinking, like, one time a counselor had said to me several times, well, you don't need to be really concerned about this. And I said, you don't have multiple sclerosis, so you
Right.
don't understand the concerns and the setbacks we have.
Right.
And that was my big red flag, that a psychologist for me needs to be somebody who understands
Of
what we're
course.
struggling with.
That goes back to the whole, we need to make sure that our team of healthcare providers know who we are, and we
Right.
have a whole family
Yes.
of doctors and therapists that we have.
Yes.
What often happens is when we're talking to people and we look good and we look fine from the outside, they think we're okay, but we're
Right.
really not. We're suffering.
Right.
To understand the pain or the fatigue. They may not see our foot drop, or
Right.
the worry we have about the
Sure.
future,
And also, Tamara, back to early diagnosis, I was just a little bit after you guys.
Yes.
What I think people don't understand is that back when we were diagnosed, it was hide it
Yes.
and look
Right.
great, look wonderful, so as to not look like we are sick, and to not let anybody know, because for fear of our jobs, our
Right.
kids.
Yes.
And so we are still, I think, plagued with that. Like, well, we have to look good. We have to look great, because it's just in there.
My hope today is people newly diagnosed do not hide the disease like we did.
Yes.
It was very difficult. I was working as a paralegal, did not tell anybody I was diagnosed. And looking back, I started to have some cognitive issues. It took a little
Sure.
to read a brief or to write
Yes.
a brief. So I hid my disease from my friends, from school teachers. And there was
Yes.
one time when my daughter had a 4th grade back to school night that I was walking to the parking lot, and one of the fathers looked at me, thought I was drinking or drunk because I was walking a little.
Right. Doing the drunk walk. Right.
Yeah, the drunk walk. And I had to look at him, and it was the first time I disclosed I have multiple sclerosis.
Really?
And after that, I quickly went out and purchased the cane so I wouldn't be asked what was going on. It was that time to humble myself and say it's okay.
Right.
To the cane, go to your kid's school. That was
Yes.
much better than looking like the drunk mama.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's so important that, we do what we have to do. I think I told the story that one of the most frightening things to me when I was first diagnosed is everybody sent me canes and walking sticks. And I was like, I'm okay. I'm still doing. And thank you for my look into my future, but please stop sending me canes and walking sticks. But I think that when we do allow ourselves to get over that hurdle of the
Right.
first time we have to use it,
Yes.
or whatever it is that we need. I know, Terry, you are in a wheelchair full time.
Right.
So I think it's that first getting over that. Okay, what are my family going to think? What's my family? How afraid are they going to be? How are my peers going to feel? And then how is it going to be received publicly? And so I think those are concerns that we have when we advocate.
Right. When I teach other people, my goal is to say, don't be scared.
Yes.
It's a scary thought to know that you're in a motorized wheelchair. Nobody diagnosed with MS wants to be here.
Right.
But I can tell you, I'm living a full, happy life. I have the sweetest people around me every single day. And that really gets me through. But with my beautiful wheelchair, I went into the seating clinic with my best friend. We're giggling, laughing, and kind of just joking around, going, I like this one. No, I like that one.
Yes.
And I purchased my wheelchair that day. Then I canceled it about 2 weeks later and said, no, I don't think I want this.
Yeah.
That was in October. Then in November, in November, I said, I think I'd better order this. I've met my insurance deductible. I think I'll go ahead and get my wheelchair. It's such a smart thing, because by the time it was delivered to me in early 2020, I truly needed it. And I was in my wheelchair full time. Now, granted, when I could stand up, because I still had a little bit of strength in my left leg, I did. So don't give up trying to stand. Don't get lazy.
Right. I love that, Terry. I love that,
Yes.
because even when there are times that there are seasons that could be forever, could be temporary, but when you're in the scooter, that's where I, will often like, okay, let's test a couple things, a little bit at a time. So we don't lose hope that this is forever, but let's test a couple things. Let's go slow and let's try to move some things that we weren't able to do. So I love that about you going in and really expressing that, yes, it's nerve wracking, but I'm still living a very fulfilled life.
Right.
This isn't the end. This isn't, it's a transition. And I always call MS the guest that wasn't invited and won't ever leave. And it's, that movie, if you remember that movie, What About Bob?
Yeah.
Do you remember that movie? And he's like, and so I always think, when I think about the MS, I just think about What About Bob? And I'm like, go away for a little bit, please. And
yes.
So,
I always say, if you could think of MS as wearing a bobby suit, and if you could unzipper it and step out of it for a day, wouldn't that be wonderful?
Awesome. And maybe put it on someone else for an hour and just say, just so you know, this is what it is.
That's right.
I'll take the monkey back tomorrow, but just for today, I want you to see what this feels like.
Right.
So,
well, I wouldn't wish this on anybody.
No.
It's so wonderful to talk with people who do have MS or any chronic disease.
Sure.
Have empathy for, because
Absolutely.
People are dealing with conditions, and just open your heart a little bit, and you may not see it on the outside. They're dealing with it on the inside.
Right.
Understand and give them support. But I also just wanted to go back to the mobility wheelchairs and all that. My kids were jumping up and down when I dropped that cane and got into a wheelchair. I was able to, I live in San Francisco, and go up and down the hills, and we played, we had more fun. So honestly, I think people need to get over it. It's wonderful that we have these tools to use.
Right. Absolutely.
Kind of put your little tush in the wheelchair and go.
I agree with you, because I think that sometimes, I'm starting to do the wall walking, now that's, and I realize that, it's scarier for my kids to see me do that than if I feel it that day, whether the temperature is just so cold, that I need something to walk, I need a cane. That's much more reassuring to our kids, whether they're adults or whether they're young, than watching mom wobble and
fall and fall.
Exactly. So I think that we have to, exactly what you said, get over ourselves and do what we need to do for ourselves and for our bodies, and to be able to do the stuff that we want to. And as moms, we don't want to miss anything, do we? There's nothing we want to miss. So moving forward now, so the big things that I asked is, moving forward with your advocacy, what are the two biggest things that you're looking forward to in this next year?
So for me,
and this is Terry.
This is Terry for Twins Coast to Coast. We would like, once everything opens back up and Ghana gets back to normal, we'd like together to do talks and talk with people and be a force that you can do this. Stay positive, give those sweet hugs, and just be a friend for the day even. So that's what I'm really looking forward to.
So are you thinking, Terry, more of like a podcast kind of thing? Is that
we're thinking podcast, and we're also thinking of traveling. Tamara and I used to get together, even
Yeah.
though we're coast to coast, we get our frequent flyer miles. We love to visit. And we're
Yes.
fortunate enough to be able to do so. So it'd be great to do lectures in
Yeah.
Atlanta
Well,
and
we'd love to have you
California.
in Michigan.
We would love to come to Michigan.
We
So
would
that's
love
what
that.
I'm really looking forward to.
We would have you, I would have you come in the summer, not the winter.
Yes.
Michigan,
Yes.
never.
Michigan, beautiful.
But the fall is beautiful. The summer is beautiful. We all enjoy it because we know it's short.
Yeah.
So
Right.
everyone's happy, everyone's joyful because we know we've got these 6 to 8 weeks to enjoy and we just
Yes.
want to experience it all at that time. So,
That's fun. A lot of fun.
well, I love that. I love where you're moving forward. And I love the idea that you're both ready to say, when this is done and we're safe, we want to travel and we want to then go and give
Right.
that support where
Oh,
people
and
can
we're-
see us.
We're also writing a book. We're writing a children's book that
Okay.
is about 2 little girls and their mom. And their mom has MS. We won't spoil any more with the story, but it's very sweet and it'll be out next year in 2020.
I love that. What an awesome thing to look forward to.
Yeah.
You guys are not slowing down at all.
No.
You are
No.
2 women that have a mission, a passion, and I don't see any slowdown,
None
which
at
I think
all.
is so crucial for our 20-year-olds that are being diagnosed.
Right.
Your ages, and I want you to give them out because I think it's so crucial.
Right. So we're 53 years old. It's hard to believe, but that's what we are. And it's great, you know.
Yes.
keep
And
going.
no slowing down.
No slowing down. We embrace it. We rock it. We want these young people to know there's a full life ahead of you.
100%.
Don't get bogged down on the what ifs because you can't control that.
Right.
You do what is today and how you want to live your life and enjoy life.
Exactly. And don't go on Dr. Google. Stay away
Right.
from Google.
Right.
And also an important thing is don't feel guilty if you do progress with MS because most people are doing everything they can. They're taking their disease modifying therapy.
Right.
That doesn't work. Talk with your doctor, but there's no guilt that you're now walking
Right.
with pain.
Right.
You have to end up in a wheelchair. It is what it is.
I love that, Tamara, that you said that because I think sometimes when you start advocating more and your face is seen more, you feel as though you almost don't want to share the really bad days or what you're going, which is the opposite of what we need to do. We need to share that, yes, I teach movement and I teach it so that I'm not in as many, I'm not hindered by other things. However, it doesn't mean I don't have a bad day or that I don't need to grab that cane sometimes and use it. It just means that the movement for me, it was just something that I felt strong about very early on without any knowledge about that.
And
So
movement is the best for MS.
for sure.
Yes.
But again, not beating yourself up when there is something that
Right.
goes wrong, because there are so many other things that happen to us with stress and during this time, losing family members, watching our loved ones or people that we've known so well get sick with this dreadful thing and pass.
Yes.
I'm now working even with clients that are coming back from COVID and struggling with many of the things that we do. So many of the things that we've got, like our cognitive stuff and we see a lot of the world struggling with that. And so all of those things. So it's really working them back to get into a normal world situation. Who better than us? Because we've learned that we've learned and understood when it's time to slow down.
Yes.
And when we don't, our bodies let us know, no, you will slow down. Right.
Right.
Oh, yes, you will slow down. And I always say, just be brave. You can do this. Push through it. You know, this is what you
Yeah.
have.
And it's okay to have a sad day.
Absolutely.
You can have a sad day and be down, but get yourself up the next day and say, we've got a beautiful day outside. Let's get out.
And I would say with that, Terry, as well, is that the bad day, go ahead and have a you day where it's a
That's
Netflix
right.
day or whatever it is that you just
Right.
have that. But then if you see it continue, that's where we have to reach out. And that's where that team comes from, where we have to be honest. And I would say I was much worse than you guys. You guys had a team developed. I don't think I was truly honest and developed a team of people in my life that I finally was truthful, like I'm going to need some help until this last year. And I think I was just so determined. I've got this. I will fight it on my own. I don't need
Right.
help. And then there's that time where you have to look at people in your life that you know you can count on, but not even just that, people that will push you in a loving way to be your best self and that will listen to you and that will also not allow you, like you said, Terry, to stay in that place of that darkness, because that bad day can turn into a bad week, a bad month, and then we're isolating ourselves. And then we fall into that depression that we don't need to if we're able to have that team and those friendships.
Absolutely. Kathy, wonderful advice. And that's where Tamara and I were so lucky. At the very beginning, we had each other.
Yes.
And we had our small team unaware of that we were even a team when we were both going through our early stages of MS. So then we could say to each other, you don't sound great today.
Right.
What's going on? And then we could say, okay, how are we going to handle this? Do we need an outside source?
Right.
Do you need to go see a urologist? Do you need to go see a physical therapist? So, but definitely for people of all ages and all stages of their MS, building your family of friendships and doctors and whoever it may be that you need, build them early on. So when you do need them, you have them.
Yes, 100%.
You realize who your friends are.
Yes. This is very true.
I used to go on walks with my girlfriends. That stopped. But I had lovely other girlfriends would say, let's go to lunch.
Yes.
Bring lunch to your house
Yes.
if it was a rainy day. Or, be creative. Let's go wine tasting.
Right, right.
Instead of the walking, we did other things. So
yes,
you can create a community of friends.
For 100%. I love that.
That say, get in your scooter, let's go.
Yes. I think that's so important. And also for us to know that I often say this, but I'm pretty Italian and mouthy. So I'll often say, don't stop asking me. Because I don't want you to ever stop asking me. There just may be days that it's a no because it's just not, I can't do it. But please don't ever stop involving me in my friend circle. Don't not ask me.
Right. Just keep asking and be truthful. If you're tired and you can't do it, your real friends.
Right. 100%.
And keep asking.
Well, I honestly can say that it's so joyful to have the two of you on, and I'm so looking forward to doing some more collaborating with you guys with our women's and our Wind Down Wednesday, which I'm going to put some dates up. But I love what you guys add and what you bring, and I'm so looking forward to seeing you come to Michigan to visit, and also love that you guys are just have so many things moving forward. And I want to put that on the bottom of the show notes. And also for you guys right now, you're doing the Instagram lives. So people can look you up on Instagram Live, and that's where they can see a lot of the interviews and the things that you're doing is on Instagram Live.
Yes, we have YouTube as well. And we have a website that they can connect through our LinkedIn on Instagram. So Instagram is a wonderful resource to start, and then you can navigate the website. It has blogs and our YouTube and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I was having fun with yours yesterday. So you guys have done a great job.
Thank you.
So I'm going to have the bottom of the show notes where they can find you. So you said it, so no one needs to go off the side of the road. It'll be all on the bottom of the show notes, how to get a hold of you guys. So I obviously very, very excited to have this interview with the two of you, get to know you more and get to really know all of the things that that you're looking forward to, that you're doing this next couple of years, and how involved you are in the MS Society and the things that you do. So very, very excited about that. So can't wait to collaborate again. Thank you so much for being on with me today.
Thank you so much for having us, and keep up the good work.
You guys
your
too.
Mission statement is wonderful, and we're proud of you as well.
Thank you. Thank you. And as we say at the end, we will move it or we will lose it, right? So we came to disrupt the idea that. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on Move It or Lose It podcast, where you can again find us every Tuesday, and also wherever you like your podcast, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Stitcher. Join us on that, and we can't wait to see you again. We're going to have a lot of exciting guests and working together. And as always, you'll hear us say at the end of every podcast, we are stronger together. So let's do it. Let's become stronger together.